Hi, welcome. I'm Serena, and can we just talk about the latest announcements about food regulations and how everyone is freaking out about it? Where do I even begin?
Breaking news. Nothing's new. Panic is spreading over grocery store items officially being announced as harmful, with some saying we should stop buying from the store altogether and make everything ourselves. But let's be real, there aren't enough hours in the day for that.
In this society, the only reason some people do have that much time is because others don't. The reason anyone has that much time is because others are doing the jobs that they don't want to do.
As humans, we rely on community for a reason. Not everything in the grocery store is toxic. It's just the products that most people tend to choose that are. And I get it. Groceries are expensive. It's hard to buy everything organic. And we should live in a world where the standard groceries that most people can afford aren't harmful and laced with pesticides and herbicides, all those forever chemicals that cause serious damage. It shouldn't be that way, but it has been for a long time. The truth has always been there. My mom knew, and she raised us on all organic food from companies that she trusted.
She raised us on a principle of organic or nothing, and sometimes that really meant we had nothing. And choosing organic didn't just mean trusting the label, it meant looking into what the company actually stood for, like their values and principles, and whether they truly deserve to call their products organic.
And when you learn that the companies that you do trust turn out to be corrupt, you have to adapt, you have to move on, but also you have to be mindful in the first place of the ingredients listed right on the label. Again, they tell you that it's okay, it's safe, it's on the shelves. So you're thinking, sure. But sadly, that's not the case, and it hasn't been for a long time.
My heart goes out to the people who had no choice but to eat those options because of poverty or other circumstances. But there were also people who did have a choice and ignored the information, laughed at those who paid attention, and chose designer luxuries instead. That was a decision many families made for decades, and now we're all asking, where do we go from here? One thing I know for sure is that panic isn't the answer. It's not sustainable, and it usually leads to burnout. Instead, we need a gentler approach. Not everyone can grow and mill their own wheat while working a 9 to 5 and keeping up with daily life.
Now's the time to turn your attention to the better options that have always been there. Don't get me wrong, homemade food is wonderful. I've been doing it my whole life. But even I can't make everything from scratch every week. Growing the wheat, milling the flour, making the noodles, and finally getting to make the homemade pasta. It's a lot. That is why we have community and grocery stores. In my family, we've been importing everything ourselves for years. And partially because we live on an island and everything's imported anyway, but also because the options in the grocery store are limited. And although there are lower quality brands in the stores, they still go for the high price. So we order everything ourselves. Well, not everything, because we still have to go to the store to buy the produce. So again, we're meant to have community.
This is just my family's solution for living on an island where the options are limited. We shouldn't have to import so much, but we do in order to avoid corrupt brands and control where our money is spent. But there are also smaller, more realistic steps that we can take that don't require trying to take on all the duties of food production ourselves or shipping everything in bulk from abroad. For example, not labeling everything in the grocery store as toxic just because the most familiar brands are. There have always been better options, they just weren't the ones heavily advertised or promoted in recipes. With that said, the organic label doesn't always mean the product is safe either. In general, the quality of all food grown has been gradually decreasing for years. And when it comes to the organic food of today, the standards of what companies are allowed to call organic have been going downhill. There are brands that are allowed to label their food organic even if it still uses harmful chemicals. There are so many loopholes. However, there are still genuine brands that have a history of being dedicated to providing organic food when the standards were still in place. Those are the brands that have been around for decades, and that's where we need to look towards now. We just need to be a little more intentional about the companies we buy from. Another issue is packaging. There's way too much single-use plastic creating waste. Yet somehow, still not enough protection since items still get damaged in transit. We have a lot of work to do to reshape the standards of the entire system. Living on an island where everything is imported, I've realized something uncomfortable. That the plastic waste exists regardless of whether we import our food ourselves or the grocery store imports it for us. The only difference is whether we see our name on the package or not. That realization changed how I think about responsibility. It's not always as simple as this option is clean and that one is harmful. Sometimes the system itself is built in a way that makes every option a compromise. That's why I'll never tell someone which compromises they should make. What's right for me might not be right for you, and what works for you might not work for me. But neither of us should disrespect the other's choices, because we're all navigating trade-offs just to live in the world as it is right now. Even as I'm unboxing these products now, I'm realizing I feel skeptical about one of the companies we ordered from. Their packaging has consistently raised questions for me, and I'm sharing this because it's exactly what I've been talking about. You might trust a brand at first, but after paying attention and observing, you get to decide whether you want to keep supporting them or not. Yes, community matters, but we don't owe any company our loyalty. It's okay to say yes to something today and no tomorrow. That's growth. That's being human. And that's why we all have to think for ourselves.
But yes, good brands do still exist. So instead of rejecting all outside food, we just have to put more intention into avoiding the wrong ones. Because there are a lot. And if new information surfaces about the brands we trust, we just adapt. Because there's always going to be an alternative.
With all that said, this is just a solution to living within the systems already in place. The real solution is that we need to return to the days of creating our own small communities, where skill and product exchanges can thrive without corruption. It's not such a far-fetched idea, because it's never too late to begin again. At the same time, not all establishments within our current society are corrupt. We just need to be more intentional. I believe we're in a phase where the truth about poorly regulated and corrupt food practices are finally coming to light. It's happening through recalls, safety alerts, reevaluation of ingredients that were once considered safe, and it's happening through comparisons of countries with stricter health regulations that ban products from less regulated nations. All of this is coming together now, but it's not new. This information has always been available. I was raised on principles of health caution because my mother knew what was happening when there weren't many people around to spell it out for her. I want to be hopeful that the next phase will be about stronger regulations, but with recent reports of new forever chemicals being approved, I sense that my hopes may be wasted. They seem to be more focused on preventing crop loss and economic disruption. But if the crops are purposefully tainted through harmful chemicals, then the quality of what they're saving could never be worth it. But beyond regulations, we also have a responsibility as consumers. Like my mother, we need to read the labels ourselves. We need to think for ourselves. The information has often been available, and when it hasn't, that's been a red flag in itself. If ingredients are being hidden or vaguely listed, that's not transparency. No honest brand should need to hide what's in their products. Research exists, labels exist, and they'll continue to matter as long as we demand transparency before giving companies our money. At the end of the day, money talks. No transparency, no money. If we want change, we have to make our standards clear and back them up with how we spend.
I hope this video was able to ease some of your minds, and thank you so much for watching. Now I can't wait to show you all the yummy things I make in these bowls.